Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Digital Arts Show. I'm Jim Siriani, your host. Thank you so much for joining us today. This show is part of the Digital Arts Festival that is produced by Center Stage Theater of Santa Barbara, California. The Digital Arts Festival interviews stream nightly at 7 p.m. And you can find out more on the Center Stage website, centerstagetheater.org, and click on the blog tab. By the way, speaking of Center Stage, if you'd like to make a donation to the theater, you can do so on their website as well. And again, that's centerstagetheater.org. And for the interviews and for everything having to do with the Digital Arts Festival, just click on the blog tab on the homepage of centerstagetheater.org. So the purpose of the Digital Arts Festival is to create an outlet for artists of all kinds to share their work. And because of the quarantine, many artists and performers suddenly found themselves with no way to show their work or to perform. And in some cases, unfortunately, the work that these artists have done, that they've created, may never be seen by the public. So in an effort to find some sort of workaround, if you will, the Digital Arts Festival was created by Center Stage to help artists and performers connect with their audiences in a virtual setting. So we'll have dance, theater, music, film, visual arts, poetry, storytelling, and much more. And again, you can learn all about it on the Center Stage website, centerstagetheater.org, and click on the blog tab. Today's guest is Mira Oaten. Mira is a poet from Indonesia. She came to America with her Australian husband. She graduated from UCSB with a bachelor's degree in anthropology and received her graduate degree from UCLA. Later, she was a senior language instructor at the Defense Language Institute when her students were deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. And we'll learn more about that and about Mira and her creativity on today's show. And welcome to the show, Mira Oaten. It's so wonderful to have you with us today.
Well, thank you so much.
It's
Thank
great
you.
to have you. So tell me a little bit about the where you were teaching language at the Defense Language Institute. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Oh, to me, it was very interesting. And to me, it's memories that I really like to go back at night on my own. And just what is interesting is that, you know, I'm uh, I'm a person that like peace, not war and peace, but peace.
Sure.
and
Absolutely.
and coming to uh, the uh, the the language institute there for the army, Defense Language Institute. It is interesting because um, although personally I'm against the war, but it is the students really that interest me. Um, and I'm bonded with them. Some of them were foster boys, and that really interests me because you know what foster boys are. And they go from foster home to foster home. And I was told that the fifth day they were born as a boy, they were already taken care of by the foster home. But what I also, uh, well, I'm very sensitive about people. These boys to me are boys that have dreams. And not only do they have dreams, they also love to sort of tell me, for instance, they call me Mira, means Mother Mira. It's about their dreams, but about uh, not just not only thinking of defending the country and all these things, but also have these dreams of having a family and having a profession. It's so I'm so close to them, and I'm a poet. They know that I'm a poet, and one of them joined me and becomes a poet like me. He said,
Yeah.
I like that connection.
Right, right. So tell us a little bit about your poetry. What inspires you to write?
Okay, when I was when I was still in Indonesia, I mean, I joined the sort of uh, a gathering of uh, poets for the teens, or celebration for poets. Uh, when you are 14, 15, this group of poetry, and they really, and then we have the um, opportunity to read our poetry through the radio. It's called Radio Republik Indonesia. And they listened to my poetry. I was 14 and I was already known among the teens, that I do this, and joined by other teenage poets.
Wow, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up here in Santa Barbara.
Oh, how do I appear in Santa Barbara? What happened is that um, after my background is that I took uh, anthropology at UCSB. My ex-husband was a professor there. But before we went to Santa Barbara, um, we were at Stanford. My ex-husband was teaching there. And it's amazing. I mean, I met famous scientists at Stanford. I forgot their name, but I had tea with them, and they are interested in where I come from, and I'm interested about these scientists, how they start to be so well known and going into the research. And it was fun. It was fun. But another thing is that I'm a reader. I'm very well read. I read French poetry, German. I speak Dutch. I can practically converse in German, not very functional. I mean, not very fluent, but okay. And I read also German poetry. I read German novels, French novels. I'm well read.
Nice. Very good. Um, so for those of you watching, we are speaking with Mira Oaten. She is a poet originally from Indonesia, and she's here in the Santa Barbara area. So Mira, let me ask you, how has the COVID crisis impacted you so far, or has it?
Oh, uh, it's my son said I should stay at home. And what I do a lot of reading. Right now, I'm reading the biography of uh, Axelrod, David Axelrod. Axelrod.
Yes.
How interesting this person is. And to me, he is so humble, but so interesting. And he's also a dreamer like me,
Right.
with a vision. Because uh, when I look back, I was working at the Malaysian embassy, and become actually a friend of the ambassador of Malaysia, because I was part-time. When I was in high school, I was doing part-time in a mail room. But the mail room is very important because that I have a connection with the writers. with the Indonesian writers that will sort of come up with commentaries about American policy. And not only that, and it also reminds me that when I was 9 or 10 years old, I stay with my grandparents, and if they have and we or also with uncles, and in the capital, which is in Jakarta, and the gardener and the cook were always talking in whispers, and that to me is very interesting. And so after dinner, I go to the kitchen, and they were whispering, in the name of the suffering people, down with capitalism, down with America, down with, and I joined them. And as a kid, 9, 10 years old, I joined a group of the poor, the farmers, down with capitalism. I have no idea what it is. Down with neocolonialism, down with America, down with the British Empire. I was doing that, and I love that because there is so much energy, and I said, do I believe for the poor have to have the same what you call that right? I said, and sometimes I interview my cook. Tell me, I said, what you believe in, and he said, we believe that each of us, he and the gardener, have the right to have property, a house, and a garden, and anything what we have. Do you believe it? I do. I mean, I was so excited that these people have the same ideas that I don't know idea. And
Wow.
what is interesting, my uncle said, you stay here. I said, who's the guy there across the street? Across the street was Aidit, Mr. Aidit. You know who Mr. Aidit is?
No.
He is the top leader of the Partido Comunista Indonesia, PKI. How interesting. And I watch him coming out with a car, or he has a car. So I'm watching. This is the excitement of my childhood years.
Wow.
Politics, about equality. I have no idea what it is, but I love singing about it. I can sing with.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. That's amazing.
I have a very rich memories. 9, 10 years old. It's all these, we have to make everybody happy in this world. I mean, I come with all kinds of ideas. And the irony here is that I went to a private school.
Oh, wow. Well, that's an amazing story, Mira. Thank you so much for sharing it. Let me ask you then, during this time of quarantine, during the COVID-19 quarantine, do you find the quarantine or the shutdown, if you will, inspiring to your creative process? Do you feel you've been able to do some writing or poetry while the quarantine is in place?
You know what? I read a lot. Right now, I told you, I read X a lot, but I'm reading also a Palestinian book, and by a Palestinian journalist, the dancing Arab, I found it exhilarating. It is fun. It is not, it, oh, the experience he has as a Palestinian boy, it's full of fun. And as he grows up, he makes friends also with the Jews. And do you know, um, I went to Jerusalem, I went to Tel Aviv. I went there because I had very uh, nice Jewish friends when I was in Australia, and then they moved to Tel Aviv, and I came there to see them and have coffee with them. So I have a long association with the Jewish community. When I delivered my baby, my son, I have a very nice Jewish doctor. Both of them, Rivke and Len Hartman, and they were sort of very leftist leaning, socialist, Jewish elitists. And so I developed that friendship when we moved to America. And I even went to Tel Aviv to meet the son. It is, I found them just as a community, a very enriching community, because,
Nice.
oh my God, I mean, uh, and even up to now, I'm a volunteer with the Jewish Foundation here.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Here in Santa Barbara.
Yes,
Wonderful.
it's a long history. You know,
Yes.
look, my son was taken care of by the Jewish doctor, and we maintained that relationship even up
Wow.
to now. Well, they, um, Len, Len and Rivka, of course, you know, they're older now. They passed away about many years ago. But those are my favorite friends.
That's amazing. Well, Mira, we're almost out of time, but I want to thank you for joining us today and taking time out of your day to talk with us and to share your story, your amazing story, and continued success for you with your writing and with your poetry. And thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, if you'd like to learn more about Mira, many of her poems and information will be available on the Center Stage blog. You can go to centerstagetheater.org and click on the blog to learn all about Mira Oaten and her work. Again, that's centerstagetheater.org. And if you're so inclined, I know it's a hard time for everybody financially for many folks, but if you're so inclined, if you'd like to make a donation to Center Stage, you can certainly do so on the website as well. Again, that's centerstagetheater.org. And if you'd like to learn more about what I do and about me, Jim Suriani, you can find me all over the place. I'm on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Jim on the Air. Again, at Jim on the Air on Instagram or Jim on the Air on Facebook. And you can also find my podcast on Spotify and Anchor.fm. It's also called Jim on the Air. And again, for more about Center Stage, centerstagetheater.org. Thank you so much for joining us today. And again, Mira, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And we will hopefully talk to you soon in real person.
Yes. You must have read my poem, A Date in Tehran.
Yes, I read it before we started the show today, and it's a fascinating poem. It was very thought-provoking, very thought-provoking. And I believe that will also be available on the blog as well. Thanks again, everybody, for watching the show, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye for now.